Hey! What's going on, everybody?
Happy New Comic Book Day. Happy Wednesday. Woo! Let's do it. You were just saying a bunch of good books you were reading.
I was reading there's quite a few that I actually really did enjoy. And as it goes, every single week, I'm always like, man, I wish I had more time to read everything.
I know, we never have enough time to read everything. We have to divide and conquer,
Yeah.
and even then, we don't get to everything.
No.
But right off the bat, I want to say thank you guys so much for joining us today on this Wednesday. We're going to be talking about all sorts of fun stuff today. New X-Men, new comic books, D23. I want to hear all about it. I was out of town on a shoot all weekend.
That's right.
You had some fun.
Yep.
We're going to watch the new Joker trailer. One of us is excited. The other doesn't give a shit. You can take a guess on who that might be. Welcome.
They're going to say me, probably.
Oh, really?
Maybe.
Oh, yeah, because you're a Marvel shrill.
I'm a
yeah,
that's right.
Y'all, if anyone in this house with a Marvel shrill, it's me. You can go ahead and put all that on me, YouTube. These guys actually like DC content. I don't. I didn't like any of the movies. Actually, that's not true.
Wonder Woman's pretty good.
Wonder Woman's okay. I didn't like the ending. I love DC TV. I think DC makes the best television shows. So I guess, in that regard, I like some DC stuff.
Hey, man, we're all shills no matter what people say.
Oh, that's true. We're just shills, shrills, shills, whatever you want to call us. Where's my check?
We did sign up for Disney Plus today, so
we're giving them money. We're paying them. We're paying them. But welcome Facebook, YouTube, and Twitch. Thank you guys so much for joining us today. Happy Comics and Coffee. Yeah.
Our second coffee of the day. Well, my second.
Third. It's lifeblood. And I apologize. I know some people get frustrated when I eat on the show, but I ordered food an hour and a half ago.
Only time we have to eat.
I ordered food an hour and a half ago. I had full intentions of eating my food before the show started, but it's still not here. Grubhub is just taking its sweet time. I ordered some food. No, I mean, it's on the way.
You ordered it?
Yes, please. They'll probably ring the doorbell, and it will be in the middle of a shoot.
If they can figure it out.
I mean, between hearing the doorbell and the constant pitter-patter of all the little feet of puppies on the floor, it's a normal day here at Hyper RPG.
That's right. Business as usual here.
Business as usual.
They were just excited about my step-up workout.
That's
right.
what it is. That's what it is.
Pump up, step up.
So, Adam, what do you want to talk about first, boss man?
I mean, I guess we should talk about D23 because that was kind of like the big thing that happened this over the last week. I got to go. I went on Friday and Saturday, and then I went to Disneyland on Sunday. I finally got to go to Star Wars Galaxy's Edge. It's dope.
Is it cool?
It's really cool.
I hate Disney World or Land or whichever one it is.
It's so cool, man. As someone who loves Star Wars, I was really impressed with all the attention to detail that they built into that. And it doesn't take up a huge amount of space in the park. It's pretty small compared to Disneyland in general. And they have one ride right now. It's Smuggler's Run, where you get to be one of the people who helps pilot the Millennium Falcon, and you're just basically trying to transport goods.
So there's one ride.
One ride right now.
How long did you wait in line?
75 minutes. I will say though, Disneyland has really figured out how to make the queues feel short.
Yeah.
It was 75 minutes, but it genuinely only felt like 40. It really, really moves because the thing that they did that's so smart.
I will not wait 40 minutes in the line.
Well, I think what they did so smart is that they have figured out a way to make the queues long enough that you're constantly moving. So it's a long distance from the entrance to the actual entrance of the ride itself, but you're always moving. You're not standing there and waiting, which I think that helps make the time go by so much quicker.
I realized as I said that sounded super douchey to be like, I won't wait in a line for 40 minutes. I have leg problems. I'm not going to stand in line for 40. I can't do it.
Well, here's the thing, Zach.
I can't do it.
We should go and we'll just get you a wheelchair and we'll wheel you around. So you just have to get on to the ride and then get off.
Yeah.
It's fun.
I bought a wheelchair.
Yeah, I mean, it's
I
fun.
did. No, we bought one for me finally. Yeah. I was like, oh, it's a dual purpose. I'll finally buy a wheelchair by saying I have to get it for a photo shoot, and then I have a wheelchair that I can use.
I mean, you can use it all around the park, and it's an easy way to get from rides and stuff. But the thing that we also did is we got the Max Pass, which basically allows you to get fast passes on your phone throughout the day while you're at the park.
Oh, wow.
So once you head to the park and your ticket's scanned, you can just go pass. It's really, really easy and really, really quick. But I was really impressed with Galaxy's Edge. There's a lot of great detail. There's obviously a lot of merch. One thing we didn't get to do was we didn't have enough time, or we didn't set enough time aside a couple weeks ago to make a reservation at the Cantina, so we didn't get to go see that. But the ride is really fun.
So you have to reserve a spot at the Cantina weeks ahead?
Because it's really busy, because the park just opened a few months ago.
It just sounds terrible.
So, but I mean, it's still fun. I think if we would have done it maybe like 4 or 5 days before, we would have been fine. But we waited the day before, and we didn't know, so that's on us. But we had a really good time, and the rest of the park, I mean, the longest we waited was like 20, 30 minutes because of all the fast passes we had. So it wasn't bad at all. But there's another ride opening in December. It's called Rise of the Resistance. So that should be just more added fun to the park. But D23.
Wait, was that your anniversary date?
Yes. It was. It was pretty fun. It was pretty fun.
What's up? Malika would be so happy if I took her to Disneyland for an anniversary.
You should go. Why not? You have a wheelchair.
No. I wasn't saying. No. I wasn't saying that was happening. I wasn't saying that was happening. I was just saying how happy you would be. Fuck. Back myself into a corner there.
Well, now you have to go, Zach. It's fun. You'll have fun. You might enjoy yourself for once.
I've been, and I didn't have fun.
Yeah, but you don't know all the insider secrets like I do.
Okay.
You got to go with people who understand how to like work the park. Then it's fun. Then you'll have a good time. Are you kidding?
Everyone I know in LA is someone who knows how to work the park.
Yeah,
all the people that I know don't know about Max Pass, and they all wait in the stupid lines.
Yeah, but do you guys know why there are waves on the railings in the Finding Nemo queue?
I don't know.
It's so that people don't sit on the railings.
There you go. So they don't fall in.
Yeah, because people get bored standing there for like almost an hour, and then they would start sitting on the railings, which is fine, but then you have like 20 people doing that, and they're all over 100 pounds, and then...
That's why you get the Max Pass, so you don't have to wait in 45-minute lines.
And then you know the like old Western town?
Frontiersland?
Yeah. You have you noticed that in the ground there are footprints of horse and stuff like that?
I've never looked, to be honest with you.
One of them only has 3 legs.
Dang! Yo, those are some fun facts. If Emily was here, you and Emily just need to do a show about Disney facts.
No, that's okay.
Because it'd be 3 hours long.
I don't know.
So I went to D23 Expo. It was my first time there. I didn't really know what to expect. I've been to Anaheim Convention for WonderCon and Star Wars Celebration, and those things seem always very full, and there's so much to do. D23 Expo is a little different. If you're not... I really like Disney. I like a lot of the stuff that they produce, whether it's the shows or the movies. I like the parks. I'm not that fully invested in the brand when it comes to everything else, when it comes to like the merchandise and just like everything else that's at D23.
Yeah.
So while I did find it fun to walk around and see some of the new stuff that was coming to the parks, to go to some of the panels, that's kind of all that there really was for me. Now, if you love Disney and you love consuming all their products and all their merchandise, then I'm sure you would love D23 Expo. For me, it's kind of a one-day thing, and you can kind of like see everything you want to see and then get out of there.
Okay, so you went to D23 for 2 days.
Yes.
What was the highlight for you? What was the highlight of your D23?
For me personally, my highlight of D23 was the Disney Plus panel, the Disney Plus showcase, where they basically announced and showed us everything that they could that's either launching with the app on November 12th or is coming out in the next year or so. Now,
Mandalorian's launching with the app?
Yes, November 12th, episode 1, and it's going to debut over the course of, I think it's 10 episodes, so 10 weeks. So it'll go all the way into the new year, which is exciting. I don't think that they're doing binge content. Like, I don't think it's going to be like full season, you know, in one day. I think they want to spread it out a little bit, which I'm totally fine with. Disney Plus or DC Universe has done that, and I've really enjoyed that.
Yeah. I
like the fact that they keep it to like 8 to 10 episodes. I think that's perfect. But there's so many original shows and movies launching. The World According to Jeff Goldblum looks hilarious. We're just Jeff Goldblum traveling around the world, discovering new things. Original movies like Lady and the Tramp.
So the Jeff Goldblum show.
Yes.
I have friends that were a part of that.
That must have been so fun.
Because he went LARPing.
Yes.
And like many people in my Facebook friends group were like, holy fuck, I LARPed with Jeff Goldblum today.
Yeah. So that show looks incredibly fun. He is obviously, I mean, he's Jeff Goldblum. He's got the best enthusiasm, you know, and all that sort of stuff. So I think that's going to be a really fun show. I think one of the big advantages of Disney Plus, and again, you know, like we've talked so much about Disney as a company and how they've acquired so many things, but it does give Disney Plus so much diverse content because you've got Disney proper that has animation, live action, all that sort of stuff. Pixar that has all the animated stuff. Then you also tag on Marvel animated and live action stuff. We'll talk about all the new shows that they announced.
Lots.
Star Wars with the movies and all the shows that they have. Clone Wars is coming in February.
Okay.
And then you have National Geographic, which is giving us so much, such a big catalog of documentaries, but they're also doing original shows like the Jeff Goldblum.
Dude, it's funny because out of everything that's coming to Disney Plus and what everyone's like hyped about, when I get the service, I know that I will probably end up spending the most time on the National Geographic part.
I agree.
Which it's not something you talk about.
No.
But sometimes it's so nice to just be like, you know what? I want to know about the rainforest.
For sure.
You know, you just end up getting sucked down that hole.
I think hopefully, I would hope, and also National Geographic has a huge catalog of stuff. But I think it's an opportunity for them to really expand and play around with the format of what National Geographic can be on a digital streaming service. You don't necessarily just have to have documentary films. You can also do episodic series and really experiment and play with the format. So I'm really looking forward to that.
Hey, Malika!
Is your food here?
My food's here! Thanks.
On top of that, so to me that was the best panel because they had the most stuff to show. Marvel came out, they talked more extensively about the shows that they were doing.
Mm-hmm.
Falcon and the Winter Soldier, they did announce some additional casting. They have Emily Van Camp coming back as Sharon Carter. They have Wyatt Russell joining the show as, I forget the character's name. Someone in the chat remind me what the name of the character is, but he's a comic book character. I forget the damn name. Jack something.
Jack-o'-lantern?
No.
Because that'd be rad.
No. Someone remind me in the chat room. I forgot. It's been a few days since we shot our Hyper Heroes episode.
I want to say thank you to everybody in the YouTube chat who's talking right now. Sorry, we're just like dumping a bunch of stuff.
We're dumping info.
Oh, U.S. Agent. He's going to play U.S.
U.S.
Agent.
Agent. That's
awesome.
right. U.S. Agent. That's what he's playing.
So thank you everybody for tuning in. I did see somebody from Facebook commented like, hey, I'm headed to San Diego. What should I do? We'll get into that later. So thank you guys so much for your comments. Keep the conversation going. We're going to keep kind of info dumping you on everything. And then we'll get to the comments. So if you have questions, make sure to save them for when we get a chance to answer them.
Yes. So he's playing John Walker, U.S. Agent. Then they brought out What If, and they talked about What If, which
is the animated show.
The animated show.
I did see, I think you tweeted out a still of Peggy Carter. That looks so dope.
Captain Carter.
Yeah.
So we all know the concept of What If. It's basically putting a new spin on events that have happened in the Marvel Cinematic Universe. 23 episodes, it sounds like. So
did
they're
they
going to
show
do
you any animation from it?
Hell yeah, they did.
Okay. So
Hell yeah, they
Marvel
did.
Animation's been really disappointing me lately.
Yeah.
Please tell me now, please tell me it gets better.
It looks really sick.
Oh God, thank you.
And I've been trying to for the last week try to figure out what I can kind of compare it to, and I haven't really landed on anything. And I think I would have to really look at and see who are the people that are working on the show before I can really compare it to anything, because it had kind of a Gandhi / Clone Wars look and feel to it, but I can't really place exactly who and what style it's really emulating. But it looks really, really good. Some of the stuff that we saw, it was Captain Carter, where Peggy basically gets injected with a super soldier serum. I almost said Chris Evans. Steve Rogers ends up getting this Mark I looking Iron Man armor that probably Howard Stark builds for him. So he's kind of going on the front lines with Captain Carter. We also do get to see Bucky engaging with a zombie Captain America, which that'll be a lot of fun. You see Zombie Cap throw the shield at Bucky. Bucky grabs it, throws it back, and then Cap emerges out of the shadows, and he's like a zombie Captain America. So I think there's going to be a lot of really fun stuff with that series. Yeah,
I really enjoyed Marvel Animation back when they were making their little animated movies and stuff. But even back then, it wasn't the best. And I feel like Earth's Mightiest Heroes was really good because the story was so fun and it pulled out so many fun characters. And between that, in the recent years, Spectacular Spider-Man and Earth's Mightiest Heroes are my two favorites. I haven't liked anything since then.
Okay.
And I'm really hoping that Marvel turns their animation department around.
Yeah, and again,
That being said, I say all that. Into the Spider-Verse is a movie, and it's one of the best movies ever made, so I don't count that. I mean more their TV animation.
Yeah, I would love to know if anybody in the YouTube chat or the Twitch chat can look up and see sort of like if they can find information about who's doing the animation, specifically like what animators or like what people are really involved with the show.
Yeah, what studios are doing it?
Yeah, I would love to know because the animation style does look a lot different from a lot of the stuff that I've seen on like Netflix and all that sort of stuff. So it seems like Marvel Studios is really having a hand in, okay, how are we going to present all this stuff? So it looks really cool. They showed us a lot of shots of things. But, you know, a shot of Thor, I have no clue what the Thor story is going to be.
Cool.
So that looked really, really cool. And then we got a little bit more about WandaVision now. WandaVision is like hardcore leaning into this like weird...
Did you get to see clips?
They didn't show us any footage. There was no footage. But they did show us like a tone piece, which had a lot of clips from the... I think it was all clips actually from the Dick Van Dyke Show. And they had these like TV static effects, a lot of similar stuff that you use for like Kolak.
Oh, weird.
To sort of like give an idea of what it's going to be. And then they just straight up told us that this show is going to be half sitcom, half Marvel Studios like epic adventure. And there was a piece of concept art that came out that had Wanda and Vision sitting on the couch, both in like human form, very 50s like sitcom, like you know, just like clothing and everything. But like the TV was casting a shadow on them. And the shadow on the background was regular Wanda and regular Vision, like silhouettes of their Marvel superhero alter egos.
What the fuck is going on?
It's gonna be wild. It's gonna be really crazy. Randall Park is coming back as Jimmy Woo. Kat Dennings will play her character, Darcy Lewis, from the Thor movies in the show. And they announced Catherine Hahn is gonna play the quote-unquote nosy neighbor. So I don't know what this show's doing. It sounds crazy.
I've never been able to talk about this.
Yeah.
The dogs are fighting. But...
Of course they are.
Whatever. I've never liked Randall Park as Jimmy Woo.
Really?
No.
Okay.
I love Randall Park. I don't see him as a Jimmy Woo. Mm-hmm. And it made it even more evident when we did a Agents of Atlas RPG here on the channel. Yoshi Sudarso showed up and he had like a full suit on. I was like, God damn, Yoshi.
That's Jimmy Woo.
Like, that's a Jimmy Woo right there. Randall Park's a little bit too much of a self-aware kind of joke character. And I see Jimmy Woo as like James Bond.
Sure.
You know? And I wanted that suave brought to that character, especially before Shang-Chi comes out.
Yeah.
If they've already introduced this character into the universe. And right now, he feels like he would be a joke to a very serious Shang-Chi.
Sure.
And I don't know how I feel about that.
Yeah, I see
But
that.
whatever.
I see that. So I don't know. Yeah, like I don't know, and I don't know for the show if we're gonna get a little bit of like a different side of Jimmy Woo or what's gonna happen. But it'll be interesting to see how they, I don't know, bring all these characters together from all these different movies into this show. It does feel like it's very much gonna lean into that Tom King run of Vision, but it may not. Baby, it may be instead of from Vision's perspective, it's Scarlet Witch's perspective because Vision is still technically dead. However, Scarlet Witch gets to the point where we're in this like sitcom / fantasy epic, I have no clue. That's going to be really interesting when the first trailer for that.
How does Kat Dennings fit into all this?
Yeah, like what is Darcy Lewis doing on this show?
That's crazy.
Yeah, so it's going to be really interesting. That's kind of become the biggest like question mark for me, but not.
And it sounds like it would lead directly into Doctor Strange 2.
It does, yeah. So does that mean that all these characters that are going to be on the show are going to show up in that? Or is it just going to be Scarlet Witch? So I don't know. That's going to be really interesting. There was also that concept art of Falcon and Bucky that came out that I think looks really cool. We already heard that Anthony Mackie had a costume fitting. And it kind of more or less looks like the Falcon suit, just with red and white and blue mostly. And probably some alterations to the front where he has the star and stuff. But Bucky, you know, a little bit of a haircut, but he basically just looks like Bucky. So I think that show will be really, really cool. What else did they show us? They didn't really talk too much about some of the other stuff, but I guess that's really it. They didn't talk about Hawkeye. Hawkeye was the one where they kind of just like breezed over. They're like, yeah, we're going to introduce Kate Bishop. It's going to be awesome. Jeremy Renner's back. It'll be cool. Yeah, so there was nothing to announce in terms of that. The big thing was announcing the 3 new shows. Kevin Feige didn't actually say that they're part of Phase 4, but they were in the Phase 4 timeline, so they are an extension of Phase 4. Which some people got on my case on social media. They said, like, see, it's not the full, it wasn't the full Phase 4 Comic-Con. At Comic-Con, Kevin Feige said this is the full Phase 4. Could there be changes made? Yes. So it was the full Phase 4 as of July. now, as of D23, it's a updated Phase 4. So they added 3 shows, one of which was announced literally an hour before I went to the panel, which was the Miss Marvel show. That was going to come to Disney Plus, that they were very excited to make it, and that the character will eventually end up crossing over into the films. So that'll be really cool.
Holy fuck.
So I'm sure we'll see Brie Larson probably show up on the show, and then those 2 characters will probably end up being in a movie together at some point.
Can I just say, saw none of this coming.
Yeah.
And I was out of town, had really bad reception.
It was kind of perfect for you.
I wanted to freak out. I wanted to freak out. Oh boy. Let's keep going through them because all of them are amazing.
Yeah, absolutely. Then the second show, again, you know, I don't want to say deep cuts because I'm just not as fully aware of a lot of the characters in the Marvel Universe. So Moon Knight was something that I was like, I don't know much about this character. But Kevin Feige, you know, obviously talked up a little bit about the premise and the idea of the character.
Oh, yeah? Tell me everything you said.
I mean, it was very basic stuff.
Tell me everything
of just
word for word. I want to know.
Well, what do you think he said?
I want to know.
What would you have said?
What would I have said? Oh, shit. Yo, if this is a crazy motherfucker with multiple personalities. He's of Jewish faith, but he believes in this God who's like the God of the night and the moon and shit and seeks vengeance of the travelers of the night. It's going to be crazy.
I mean, you're not too far off.
It's going to be crazy.
It was a little bit more of like more of a general sort of like, this is who the character kind of is. He believes in this God, this moon god who gives him these powers, or does he? So they're going to.
Does he do anything, or is he just fucking crazy?
Exactly. So I think very much leaning into that concept. But that was really all he said about Moon Knight. There was no dates or anything like that.
So Moon Knight's a tough character, and I will say,
yeah,
everyone's going to have thoughts on who Moon Knight should be, because just like Venom, Moon Knight has always been a character in the Marvel Universe where whoever's writing him takes a ton of liberties. Whereas you got, similarly, Frank Castle is crazy and kind of like a vigilante in that way, but Frank Castle has a very clear, like, this is Frank Castle's story, this is what Frank Castle believes in, you go from there.
Sure.
Moon Knight in that same world is kind of like every writer that comes in is like, yo, let's fuck with Moon Knight.
Let's do something crazy.
At one point, the personalities inside of his head were Wolverine, Spider-Man, and Cap.
That sounds like
I think that was was that a Bendis run? And correct me if I'm wrong. I might be wrong. It's been a while, years since I read it. But it was like he kind of had their powers a little bit when he was inhabiting their personalities and stuff. Like he's crazy. And some of my favorite Moon Knight work is the most recent stuff, like Warren Ellis's run. It's just so good.
Yeah.
There's so many good Moon Knight stories, but they're all very, very different.
Mm-hmm.
So different. So they have a lot of liberties here. But the one thing that's pretty constant, Mark Spector,
yes,
Egyptian god.
Yes.
They better not change that he's Jewish. I think it's important.
I doubt it.
They should, because it's kind of important. His father's a rabbi, so they need to stick with that.
I'm sure they would. I would be surprised if in today's world they'd be like, let's get rid of that.
I don't know. Disney's leaned heavily into the Christian stuff, and they haven't shown anything else. Like, they've been really like, oh, it's cool to do the Christian stuff, but they haven't shown many other religious things on screen within their content. So it'll be interesting if Disney is willing.
It looks like their animated stuff is really leaning into, or I guess even their live action stuff.
I mean, that's what's always interesting with Disney, or at least the Marvel Universe. The TV stuff, the Netflix, the Hulu, the everything else, it's way more progressive than the movies.
Yeah.
And the movies have like held back quite a bit.
Daredevil was hella religious in that show.
Yeah, but it was done in a way, it was part of his story.
Yeah.
And it was done in a way that's almost more progressive in that it's not afraid to talk about those things.
Exactly.
And I thought that was always interesting. But yeah, I'm anxious to see if like they stick with how crazy Mark Spector is. But moving on to the next one, which even got me more pumped. You all remember the She-Hulk boys back in the old GNS days when we did Marvel Heroes online and we were all She-Hulk? I love me some She-Hulk.
I was a little surprised at this announcement. Have you
talked to Hector yet?
Yeah, we talked about it on last week's show.
About She-Hulk? Mm-hmm. How excited did he get?
Oh, I think that was their most anticipated thing. Both of those guys.
Hector may not tell you all, but I'm pretty sure he's got a huge boner for She-Hulk.
Oh, I think he made that kind of clear in our video. He was pretty fucking excited. Like, if he could have stuck to the wall, he would have, if you know what I mean. So, they announced She-Hulk. I was a little surprised because I'm still kind of unclear on how the rights work with the Hulk when it comes to the relationship between Universal and Disney. I know that the theatrical rights to the Hulk are at Universal. I was under the impression that that included television rights as well, which is why we've never seen a Hulk series of any kind sort of materialize itself. I could be wrong, I think Guillermo del Toro at one point was like developing something Hulk related for television. That doesn't necessarily mean that he was gonna write and direct it, but he was helping to create something that was sort of going to lean more into the territory of like the Bill Bixby show. Whatever the case may be, She-Hulk is coming, Jennifer Walters is coming to the Marvel Cinematic Universe, Bruce Banner will no longer be the only Hulk, as Kevin Feige said. We also speculated a ton as to like what this could be, whether they could turn Mark Ruffalo at some point into some adversary that they have to fight, not necessarily making him an evil character, but kind of doing what Civil War did, where it put heroes against heroes, and what that could mean for the evolution of Bruce Banner and the Hulk if he tries to further heal himself, and if that exposure to gamma radiation messes with him mentally, and Jennifer Walters has to come in. She's kind of the only thing that can help stop this character. We also, obviously, in a couple episodes ago, we spitballed the idea of like, man, it'd be cool if in Spider-Man 3, Matt Murdock became Spidey's lawyer because he's trying to defend himself from, his identity.
Well, too bad Jennifer Walters can't be Spider-Man's lawyer now.
Yeah, right? And, you could have worked that. You could have worked Jennifer Walters
into the story as well. I thought we were going
to
get through the whole show without having to talk about it. Why did you do that? I was in a good mood today, man. Fuck you, dude.
Well, it was a good show, everybody. Thanks for coming and watching Comics and Coffee. I hope you had a fun time. We'll see you next week. He's back. I know. It's painful. It still hurts, man. It still hurts. But I'm still excited to see what Jennifer Walters can bring to the Marvel Cinematic Universe, especially because this is a lawyer who is directly tied into the events of these movies. It's not Netflix where, we're kind of toying in the world, but we're not directly connected. This is straight up connected to everything that has happened directly. I think you will definitely see Mark Ruffalo show up in this show. I think it would be odd to not address that in some form or fashion. I don't know if they're going to take liberties with the origin of the character and how she becomes She-Hulk.
Probably.
And somehow change it so Mark Ruffalo is involved. I don't know.
I feel like all of those shows they can have a ton of liberties with because outside and in all honesty, Ms. Marvel has the most clear story.
Yeah.
As in every creator who's come in on Ms. Marvel has been very true to the idea behind Ms. Marvel and how Ms. Marvel started and where it's going. Mm-hmm. Whereas She-Hulk and Moon Knight, you can kind of do whatever the fuck with them. Because every writer that's come in on those books has kind of relaunched. Like, I love Charles Seale's She-Hulk run, but it's just a court drama. And it's great. Yeah. And Hellcat's in that. Obviously, they couldn't do that because of Netflix, but it's such an awesome, quick little run. So good. But,
No dates were announced for any of these new shows. And I think previously, the Hawkeye show is the last Disney Plus show I think that's supposed to premiere. And I don't think that's till late 2021.
Damn.
So I don't think we'll see anything from these new Disney Plus shows until after that, 2022 and beyond. When it comes to Star Wars, we got to see a new trailer for The Mandalorian, which looks really, really cool. I can't wait to see that drop on Disney Plus. And then they dropped the big bomb that they're finally doing an Obi-Wan Kenobi series. They brought out Ewan McGregor. They surprised the crowd at the end, which I thought was really cool. Again, it was another one of those situations where last week there was a couple trades that reported, I think it was Deadline reported, that was actually in fact happening and that we were finally going to get an official announcement at D23. I was skeptical because we've had this happen numerous times over the last 3 years, so I wasn't sure if this was actually going to happen. But when Kathleen Kennedy came back on stage and said, like, we have one more surprise, I thought it's got to be Ewan McGregor. You're not gonna drop something that's like not super exciting if you're gonna be like, we have one more surprise. I don't think there would have been anything else that you could have done. Yeah. We also saw Cassian Andor and K2SO, Diego Luna and Alan Tudyk talk about their show, which starts shooting at the beginning of the year, which is great. Can't wait to see more of that show. It's going to be a prequel to Rogue One. So apparently they're also, Diego Luna, I guess, is going to be a little bit DH for that show. So that's cool. We're just going to do that on every movie and show now that's a prequel. So it's like, whatever. No one would have noticed. That guy looks young anyway. But the Obi-Wan Kenobi show is going to take place, I think, 7 years after Revenge of the Sith. So Luke will be a really young kid. I'm really curious to see if they're going to bring back Joel Edgerton and a lot of the other actors who have been in the prequels that kind of take place around that same era, and whether or not Obi-Wan will run into characters again like Darth Vader or any of that stuff. They've written the whole series, I guess. They start shooting at the beginning of next year also. So I think 2021 will be a busy year for Star Wars Disney Plus. I don't know if they'll drop those shows at the same time or if they'll sort of split them up. You know, one will come out at the end of 2021 and one will come out at the beginning of 2022. It was exciting though, exciting for Star Wars, exciting for Marvel. To me, that kind of made that panel my favorite.
Really?
Yeah, because I feel like we got so much new stuff. There was so much new information. Marvel could have very easily come out and just sort of expanded upon the shows they announced at Comic-Con, but they did a little bit more where they announced more casting.
Here's a question.
And they gave us 3 new shows.
Those shows that they announced,
yeah.
She-Hulk, Ms. Marvel, Moon Knight,
yeah.
they had nothing to announce with them other than just announcing them.
Yes.
I wonder if the Spider-Man news pushed those announcements.
I wouldn't be surprised. I mean, Tom Holland was there because he was
originally
Onward.
He was probably going to be like. I feel like this Sony stuff and everything escalated so quickly, and I wouldn't doubt it if somebody in Marvel Disney was like, "We need to change the conversation." Yeah, and
you know what, and I think that's very valid. And obviously, no Spider-Man announcements would have been made during the Disney Plus panel because that's a live-action cinematic thing.
But it still focuses positive energy towards Marvel.
The brand, absolutely. So I think, if that's the case, then I think it was the right move. And if they were waiting to announce these shows next year at Comic-Con or whatever the case may be, then I guess they did themselves a solid by really just going in hard and just saying, like, let's just announce these 3 new shows. People will be super, super hyped about it. When it came to the movies, Marvel completely ignored any future discussions about movies. They mostly leaned heavily into Eternals. They announced...
Which, that still that went out looks awesome.
Oh, all
and we
costume?
Get Gemma Chan
as
fucking Cersei?
Yeah.
Thank fucking God.
Yeah.
Honestly, to underutilize her in Captain Marvel was a crime. That was a fucking sin on humanity,
Which honestly, I think it kind of worked towards her advantage because now, if you say Gemma Chan was in Captain Marvel, a normie will be like, who and what? But now that she's going to be a main character in the Eternals... I think it's going to work out for her even better.
That woman can fucking act. Everything I've seen her in, she is slayed.
Yeah.
To the point that Malika and I are always coming out of movies or shows that she's going to be like, God damn, when is she going to blow up?
Yeah.
And we thought Captain Marvel was going to be her chance to blow up, but she was so underutilized.
Yeah,
so
background character.
I'm fucking pumped that she gets to be a lead in this.
Yeah, yeah.
If y'all haven't seen Humans, I think it's a BBC show.
Mm-hmm.
She kills it in that show. She is so good. That woman can emote so much without emoting at all.
Yeah,
and it's phenomenal.
That's awesome.
Phenomenal.
So yeah, I mean, there was a lot of other Disney Plus announcements. They announced that Lizzie McGuire was coming back. They talked about High School Musical, the series, which I think looks a little fun. I don't know, it's a little bit of a meta concept, but whatever. But I do have a hack for you. If you want to sign up for Disney Plus, you can do so at a cheaper rate than what it's initially being offered for. If you go to D23.com, by the way, this is not sponsored, you're welcome, Disney. You can go to D23.com, you sign up for their free D23 membership, not the paid one. There's a way you can sign up for a free one. Just go, figure it out. It's very clearly labeled with a giant button that says free membership. Within 36 hours of you signing up, they will give you a link that will allow you to sign up for Disney Plus for 3 years for 33% off. I think it's $140 or $145 for 3 years. So you're welcome. There's a little hack and a little money saver for you. Because otherwise, I think it's $210 or $250.
Yeah.
So I'm saving you, $60 to $100. You're welcome.
We did it.
We did it.
Yeah.
Moving on to the live action movie stuff.
We're still going.
It was a little disappointing for me personally. Like I said at the beginning, I like Disney, but I'm really mostly invested in Star Wars and Marvel.
I haven't asked anyone, is the Lady and Tramp thing real or is that an internet meme?
Oh, no, it's a real movie.
What the fuck, why?
It actually looks kind of good though.
Really, why?
But it's not a theatrical release. It's a Disney Plus.
Disney Plus?
It's a Disney Plus original movie.
So it's like a made-for-TV thing.
Yes. So, in my opinion, if that's the route that they start going with some of these remakes, fine. I think there's a lot of opportunity to explore really cool stuff theatrically with other things on Disney. But in any case, The movie panel was a little disappointing for me because, like I said, like Disney, really invested in Marvel and Star Wars. All the other stuff, the Pixar and the animated stuff, it was cool. I liked it. But I'm not that invested in Maleficent. I'm not that invested in Onward. I've never seen Frozen, so I don't really care about any of that stuff. Onward looked really funny. It's Chris Pratt and Tom Holland. The concept is really funny. They're like these trolls or elves. I can't remember exactly what they are. But Tom Holland basically has the power to bring back their dad for 24 hours.
Oh, wow.
But he's only able to bring back the lower half of his body. So they have to go on this quest to find this gem where they can hopefully bring back the rest of their dad. So it's got like a Weekend at Bernie's type of vibe to it too. But it looks really funny and entertaining. For Star Wars though, I think that was on a lot of people's minds because we got to see this really cool sort of look back at the saga. And
then you got some new footage.
Yeah, the trailer talks about how it's the end of the era and the end of the saga and all that stuff. We got a little bit of narration from Palpatine. And then now, iconically, the trailer ends with a close-up on Rey with 2 lightsabers and then a wide shot where you see the lightsabers unhook and it's basically a double-bladed lightsaber.
Yeah.
So a lot of people are now speculating, is it a clone? Does she really go bad?
Clones.
Is it a vision?
Why would it be clones?
I kind of hope it's not clones.
We already got the visions in the caves. We had the visions.
But those are her visions.
Yeah, but then they're gonna be fucking,
Kylo
Ren's visions. Or it could still be her vision again. Who knows? If she's still fighting with the darkness within her.
I think it also could be Palpatine manipulating her or manipulating Kylo Ren to really try to pull him into the dark side. Because I think there's a lot of potential for Kylo Ren to still kind of be in the middle somewhere where he's leaning towards bad, but there is a little bit of hope and redemption potentially in him, and I think the Emperor is going to do everything he can to rip all that hope out of him.
Blvd said because people think she's a clone of Palpatine because of no evidence. I love Star Wars theories sometimes.
They're
because
crazy.
I understand that the movies are a little crazy, but for the most part, they're pretty fucking...
That shit crazy?
Well, no. What I want to say is going to sound like an insult, but I don't mean it to be. They're pretty bland in terms of sci-fi.
Yeah.
They're old ideas.
Yeah.
And these new movies are just retreads of the old ideas in the old films. Cloning's a cliche that's pretty prevalent and stuff like that, but Star Wars, for the most part, kind of falls on its own saber often and is just a retread of the ideas that have already been presented. So I feel like the Palpatine is somehow still alive as a ghost or whatever within, this entire, it's just, I feel like they're just going to rehash the things they've been rehashing all along. That doesn't mean it's bad, though. That's Star Wars. That's what you get excited about.
Yeah.
I don't feel like they're going to try to pull some crazy new shit out of nowhere in the very last episode of the saga. It's going to try to tie it all back to the very beginning because that's what they're telling you they're doing. They're saying it's the end of the Luke Skywalker saga, or the Skywalker saga,
And this movie has the job of tying up ends that have been set up in 2 trilogies now. The prequel trilogy, the original trilogy, well, and I guess technically also episode 7 and 8. Because episode 7, JJ introduced so much shit. Where's Rey from? What happened between Kylo and Luke? Who is Snoke? The Knights of Ren. A lot of that stuff didn't get paid off in episode 8 because Rian Johnson said, I don't care about the Knights of Ren. I don't want Snoke to be another emperor. I want to do things differently, which for better or for worse, there are things I like about that. There are things I don't like about that. And I think now JJ's going back and saying well, I did set up Knights of Ren. I kind of have to pay it off. I can't just not do anything with it. And I think also they killed Snoke. We got to have some looming villain. I don't necessarily think you need it.
I don't think you do either.
I think Kylo Ren is enough.
Yeah.
But I definitely was intrigued by some of the shots I saw in that trailer where you see hundreds upon hundreds of Imperial cruisers versus a very small fleet of Resistance and Rebels. So, I don't know. And also, episode 8, to me, episode 8 in a lot of ways feels like it should have been episode 7 because it sets up so much stuff. Like the end of that movie sets up a potential new era of Jedi and or Skywalkers, if that's what they sort of adapt into.
I would have preferred that, honestly, because The Force Awakens was just A New Hope.
Which, I don't disagree.
For better or worse, I still like it. But the thing is, when you think of it as a trilogy, I'm like, I've seen this trilogy already.
Which I don't disagree with people when they say that, but you have to also look at episode 1, and it kind of does the exact same thing episode 4 did also. I think a lot of people just kind of forget that because maybe they don't revisit the prequels as much.
Probably don't.
But there's a lot of stuff that's the same. But George Lucas has also always kind of talked about, well, they're supposed to be like poetry. They're supposed to like rhyme. So the things that happen in the original should echo into the first of a new trilogy. And I'm like, well, yes and no. It depends, I think, on like how much the echo is. If you're just echoing the hero's journey, then I think you can do it in plenty of ways. Like, I don't think Anakin and Rey both need to be from a desert planet just because Luke was. But whatever, that's a whole nother conversation. But I thought the footage looked cool. I think we'll still get another trailer probably in October when Maleficent drops. I think that's when we'll get the official final trailer. Or maybe even with Frozen in November. So I'm still excited. I'm still very, as a Star Wars fan who's followed this series for the last, 25 years, I'm really curious to see how they conclude this whole thing. What characters are going to show up. I wouldn't be surprised if it kind of was a greatest hits where we see Luke and Anakin and Yoda and Sidious and fucking who knows what else. I just hope that it's done well and that when I walk out of the movie I go, okay, cool. This felt like a satisfying conclusion to 9 movies. And, whatever happens after that, happens. That's the only movie stuff that they announced for that. When it comes to Marvel, they talked about Black Panther. They just said, hey, we got a date, May 2022. That's so fucking long from now that I'm not going to worry about it for another 2 years because that's when marketing will start. And that was kind of it. They showed us some stuff from Black Widow. It's kind of the same trailer we saw at Comic-Con with additional new footage. We saw a little bit more of David Harbour's character. But that's it. The cast wasn't there. They were filming stuff. And then Eternals, they announced 3 new members. Gemma Chan being one, Kit Harington, and Barry Keoghan, who was in Dunkirk.
Nice. That cast is stacked.
Amazing cast, yeah.
Stacked.
I thought they would maybe show us some footage or some, some other stuff, but I guess they haven't been shooting long enough for that to happen. So overall, live action movie stuff was cool. I would have liked maybe more information on what the creators of Game of Thrones are doing, what Rian Johnson is doing, even if it was just like, hey, we're doing Knights of the Old Republic, bye. Like, that would have been cool. Movie stuff from Marvel. The Black Panther date was cool, but I don't know. It was all right.
Dude, how
you doing?
My bowl was so good.
Yeah?
It was Korean barbecue chicken, cauliflower rice, and arugula with an egg on it.
Arugula.
So fucking
Nice.
good. It was tasty.
Tasty boys.
Tasty.
Hey man, one of these days, can we get that barbecue again?
Yup.
That was so. I will not eat breakfast just so I can enjoy that.
Because it's a lot.
So good though.
It's a lot.
Man.
Okay, so there's D23.
Sorry for the info dump. I feel like I spent 20 minutes.
No, that's okay. It was actually 40. But
holy shit! Wow, you should have really sped me through this. You should have done this right here. You should have been like,
we should have had the timer.
Go, motherfucker! You got 20 minutes.
Did you guys use this on Hyper
I forgot. I'm gonna start using it this week. We have a timer. It's amazing.
Go. 2 minutes. Okay. So that's D23.
I'm so sorry.
No, you're fine. You're fine. There's a lot to talk about because I only saw flashes of things on Twitter.
Yeah.
Wasn't paying attention. But I'm also one of those people that I don't know. This is why I could never do Hyper Heroes with you guys for the most part. I react to things as they happen, not hype about things before they do.
Yeah.
Because I don't have time.
Yep.
And life comes at you so fast, and it's usually just like work, go. Got to work on all these things, got to work on these things. And then when it hits, it's like, okay, now I have thoughts on it.
Yeah.
And I try not to get too overly excited or have a bunch of opinions before things happen. Try to focus on when it happens.
Yeah.
But there was a lot of stuff going on, but I was like, I got to take photos and shit. D23 info can wait.
Yeah, I mean, I will say, as like my final thoughts on D23, I think the convention is cool. I think if you don't get to go, you're really not missing out on too much because they put out press releases and videos about all the panels, and so you're not really missing out unless you're going there to specifically buy merch or like you want to get shit signed by people. If you don't go, you're not really missing out. But it's fun. And Disneyland's across the street.
So outside of D23, there were some other things we were going to talk about.
Yeah.
One's the Joker trailer. Should we watch it?
Yeah.
We can watch it.
Let's watch it.
Okay. All right.
I have not seen it yet.
Up.
You haven't seen it, obviously. We're gonna get Augie and Hector's thoughts on Friday's show. I will have seen it by then, so y'all can yell at me. Even though I've told you now 3 times that I'm gonna watch
I know you're
this.
like the trailer reaction guy. Do you want us to set it up so you can cut it out or just leave it in here?
I don't care. We can figure it out later, I guess.
Yeah, just show them like IRL, like from the top.
And I'm just like, hey, we're watching the trailer for the Joker. We're super
watching
excited.
it right now. That was our intro. That was it.
That's the intro.
We're doing it.
You don't care about anything else other than our reaction.
We're doing it. So we're gonna watch a reaction to the Joker, and you probably didn't watch anything else in this video, which is us talking about comic books, because we all know that all you people who like to yell at us about movies don't know shit about the source material. I'm kidding. I don't know any. I'm kidding because I don't know anything about Joker source material. I'm a Marvel.
You are.
Shill.
You're a Marvel shill.
I'm a Marvel shill. I don't know.
We got the Disney shill here.
Yeah. I'm not.
Thanks for coming.
No, I'm not. I hate Disney so much. Like, that's the thing. I love Marvel and the comic books so much, and Disney is something where I'm like, I have no care at all for any of it.
Have you ever seen a Disney like animated movie?
When I was a kid, I saw some. Not many,
But you're kind of like me. Emily always yells at me. She's like, how have you not seen this? I'm like, because I didn't grow up with it.
Because I watched RoboCop.
Exactly. I used to eat ice cream at 6 years old watching Alex Murphy get his brain blown out. That's me.
I liked freaking horror movies.
Yeah, Terminator.
Critters.
I saw Halloween when I was like 8.
The Puppet Master movies and all of the Leprechaun movies that I should have never been allowed to watch.
I know.
My parents, please, note to you, don't let your kids who are like 5 and 6 watch Cronenberg films. It will scar them for fucking life. And then don't let me, as an older brother, show my younger brother, Lucas, really fucked up movies that he told me a week ago, hey man, I was really fucked up by some of the stuff you showed me when I was a kid. And
it's one of those things, the thing?
Lucas had something to drink and he was just like, man, you showed me some weird stuff. I was like,
love it.
I can't remember how old you were. I'm sure it was fine. But anyway, we're going to watch the trailer for Joker. And are you pumped for this trailer? Are you excited?
I really like the first trailer. I'm excited to see more of this movie and get a little bit more maybe what the story is.
Okay. So,
are they going to be able to see it?
Yeah, I'm going to switch to it. Cool. I know what I'm doing. Do you wanna run the show?
Go.
Let's do it.
Fuck you, Zach.
Okay. All right. Well,
Rated R, in case you forgot.
Yeah.
Please stop bothering my kid. Sorry.
Arthur, I have some bad news for you.
It's
This is
terrifying.
the last time we'll be meeting.
You don't listen, do you? You just ask the same questions every week. How's your job? Are you having any negative thoughts? All I have are negative thoughts.
And finally, in a world where everyone thinks they can do my job, check out this guy.
When I was a little boy and told people I was going to be a comedian, everyone laughed at me. Well, no one's laughing now.
You can say that again, pal.
It's so awful, isn't it?
For my whole life, I didn't know if I even really existed. But I do. And people are starting to notice.
Think this is funny? Is this a joke to you?
Oh shit. I think that's Thomas Wayne.
Murray, one small thing.
Yeah.
When you bring me out, can you introduce me as Joker? Send in the clowns.
Okay.
First of all, whatever channel this is from, I hate that they put their end cards
I think it
over
was
the trailer.
IGN.
God damn you,
I'm
IGN.
sorry. I should have known
Jesus.
better. I should have known better. First thoughts. What do you think?
My first thoughts is I still don't feel like I exactly know what the story is.
I think I got it now.
It seems a lot more political.
It seems very Dark Knight Returns.
A little bit, yeah. I agree with that. But I do think overall this seems like it's going to be a very, very deep study of a man who we know is Arthur Fleck in this movie, who loses it, goes crazy, is influenced by negativity in his life and what that sort of does to him, how it breaks him down, and why the concept of a Joker influences him to becoming, I guess, a villain in this movie. I'm assuming he'll be a villain. Maybe they'll play him more as an anti-hero. I don't know.
I don't see that. I see he's definitely going to be a villain.
Yeah.
And I think that in lies my problem with it a little bit. Mm-hmm. And this is an interesting topic. It's an extremely interesting topic, and one that I even debated whether or not I wanted to talk about today, but fuck it, we're all hanging out and chilling. I'll probably see the movie. But I do have reservations about why and why this movie's happening in the way that it is. And I do recognize that if this was a movie that was like an indie film and it wasn't about the Joker,
if it was just called Clown,
I'd be a lot more interested in seeing it.
Yeah.
And part of that is because who this movie is going to appeal to. As it being called the Joker, it's going to appeal to a whole lot larger range of audience members who are going into it wanting that, I love the Joker. And it's really hard to do a film about a bad guy losing their mind, society turning their back on them, and making it clear you're not supposed to like this person when you're making it of an iconic character. Mm-hmm. And I think it's very important that you make it very fucking clear this is not someone you should aspire to be. And I feel like right now, this trope of the sad white guy who society has turned its back on, who then decides to turn to violence under the debate of, is it mental illness? You know, it's just like, it seems like something I'm like, are we going here right now? Is this what we're doing? Is this what we're doing right now?
Yeah.
You know?
I love seeing the two very diverse chat rooms having very different opinions about this trailer.
Yeah. It seems a little tone deaf. It does seem a little tone deaf. Like, why are we doing this right now? We've already had one person shoot up a movie theater dressed up as the Joker, saying they idolize that character. And to make it more sympathetic to a character like that, which is what this movie appears to be doing. It appears to be being sympathetic to that individual. And I don't know if that's a take that I'm like, we need right now.
Yeah.
And part of what I love about superhero movies, I love me some dark shit. Adam and I want to go see Midsommar, the 3-hour cut with you. I love me some dark shit. But context is really important and who this is geared towards. And one of the things I love about superhero movies is they're about, like, shit sucks right now. And no matter where you lie on political lines, like, we can all agree shit kind of sucks. A lot of fucked up stuff's going on, and superheroes give you that hope and that feeling, you know? And I know Joker's not a superhero, but it's going to appeal to the same audience.
Yeah, because he exists in a world of superheroes, traditionally.
Yeah, and I don't know, you know, it just feels a little tone deaf.
Yeah.
And I understand my own weird, like, I have some thinking to do about it. I'm not saying you should feel this way. I feel this way, and I also understand that I have to understand my own weird thought process on this, because I do know that if this was an indie film about a character I didn't know about, I'd be excited about it. Mm-hmm. Like the movie Blue Ruin I showed you the other week. You know, like I do like some of these movies that are about the white guy that society left behind and he goes on some sort of rampage because he feels wrong. I'm not gonna lie. I like some of those movies. I like My Taxi Drivers and stuff like that. But I can acknowledge that and also see if Taxi Driver was coming out today, I might be like,
do we need this?
Do we really need this right now? Do we need one of the biggest stars doing this with one of the best directors? I don't know. It just seems, I don't know. So I understand that I need to look inside myself and question those things, you know, like, am I even right to feel this way? Is this whatever? But that's the feeling I get when I watch the trailer. It's the feeling. And I can't change a feeling. Nobody can. Everyone's entitled to their own feelings. And that's the feeling I get when I'm watching this. And I'm like, why? Why are we getting this? What's this for?
Who
does this appeal to?
It kind of makes it seem like this movie was kind of created in a bubble.
Yeah.
Of like, with no sort of concept of what's happening in the greater world. It's like, well, we just want to do a Joker movie that explores a unique take on his origins. Fair. Yeah. That's fine. I have nothing against that.
And I would like to add in the chat, Rob Vegas saying, I didn't see anything about racism until Zac went out of his way to make it about racism. I never said the word racism.
No one said anything about racism. What are you talking about?
I said a sad white guy. That doesn't equal racism. Where are you? Don't fill in words into my mouth based on a point you're trying to jump to. That's some fucking gaslighting right there. Like, never said those words. Don't put shit in my mouth. I'm saying this is a trope. We all know in the film world, this is a trope movie. We've seen this movie before. When I say Taxi Driver, it's this movie.
Yeah. I mean, and it's no secret that this movie heavily takes inspiration from Taxi Driver and Kings of Comedy and King of Comedy and all that sort of stuff. I mean, that's kind of the basis that it was built upon. And again, like, I'm not against the idea. Like, originally when this movie was announced, I thought this is going to be really stupid. Why do I want to see this movie? What value and what is it going to add to the lore of the Joker? The whole cool concept about the Joker is the fact that you don't know anything about his past. It's always misdirection. It's always a mystery and all that sort of stuff. So I didn't really feel like I needed this movie.
Yeah.
I will say, like, I'm not the biggest Todd Phillips fan. Like, I think...
But I will say this: it looks like the most beautiful movie Todd Phillips has made.
Absolutely, and that's
like, holy shit! The cinematography, the editing, all top fucking notch. It looks like a Scorsese film.
It does.
He's wearing his influences on his sleeve, and I don't think that's a bad thing.
I don't think so either, and I think they really have done a really good job, sort of invoking that feeling of like really early 1980s, because I think it takes place in like 1980 and 1981. So I think all of that is there. All the pieces are there, but I agree of like. I don't know if this is necessarily the movie that we need right now, but I'm still going to go into it with an open mind and let the movie just wash over me and let it tell the story, experience this unique take on the character, and maybe I'll walk out and go like, and I might have the opinion of, well, it didn't do the thing that we thought it was going to do, thank God.
Yeah.
Or I'm going to walk out going like, well, it did lean into this a little bit. How forgiving am I willing to be because it's just a piece of pop culture, but how much of a responsibility does the movie also have to...
Do you think it's going to go the Dark Knight route, where it's like the Joker is holding an entire TV audience hostage?
I don't know.
And like
I don't
kills
know.
The host and the
Robert
audience
DeNiro
on camera.
Yeah, I don't know. That to me is going to be really interesting to see. There also seems to be a lot of like political things happening within the context of the movie in Gotham City, and I don't know how much of that will influence the Joker character. Or what the Joker does in that movie when it comes to, you know, how he treats police and how he treats, you know, organized crime and all that sort of stuff. Like, we don't really understand how that works.
I just hope that part of what I love about comic books is there's a very clear line between good and bad.
Yeah.
And I'm not going to lie, I understand. Like, some of my favorite villains are the ones where that line is hard to decide on. And some of my favorite heroes, like Wolverine, are where it's like, are they actually good? Is it wrong to kill? But there's a discussion there usually about those characters and where they lie within those things. I think the Joker, to me, has always been a character, especially in the world of Batman, because Batman is a world of extremes. Batman is about extremes. I mean, let's be real. It's like that world is about very clear, like, these are extremes. And Batman is one side of extreme, but he's like, I've got my rules, and these are my rules. Yeah. You know? And that's part of what makes him fucking Batman. And Joker is always so very clearly the fucking bad guy. 100%. And the only reason Alan Moore's The Killing Joke even worked a little bit is because it was so very clear what the rules were to then introduce this question of, are you two sides of the same coin, makes it a very interesting debate. If they were very closely woven, it wouldn't have made that story as interesting. It's because they're so clearly defined. Joker's the fucking bad guy. There's no debate on this. And I don't like seeing bad guys glorified. It's why I hate House of Cards. I love Breaking Bad because the whole time I'm watching it, it's saying, you're going too far. And people, the whole thing is about calling out this dive, where stuff like House of Cards was like, don't you want to be a politician and be a piece of shit like this? No, and I know Hector and I talk about this stuff a lot. Like, we don't watch stuff for that feeling. I don't want to relate to that. I want to be better than that. And I can appreciate it as art, but I don't get excited by it.
Yeah.
You know, like I can really appreciate some of that stuff as art. For instance, I showed my cast Blvd over the weekend. Sohinki hated it.
Yeah.
Because he was just like, this movie is just awful. It's just terrible people and all this stuff. And I was like, I agree with that. I love the movie. I think it's a beautiful art. I think it's really well done. But I can also see his point of like, why would I want to watch a movie where this guy is like abusing this woman? And I was like, I completely understand that.
Yeah.
So it's, you know, it's something to think about.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, I'm looking forward to seeing it purely out of curiosity, purely because of Joaquin Phoenix, honestly, because I think he's an incredible actor. And because, yeah, I agree. I think it looks really damn good. Like, it's one of the better looking DC movies recently. And I think a lot of that
looks great.
I think a lot of that also has to do with the fact that it's like, there's no superhero element. It's all practical.
Yeah.
You know, there's no like flying.
It looks great. The movie looks really well shot, and Joaquin Phoenix is such an amazing actor. But that's part of why I'm concerned, because I'm like, even when he plays bad guys, like in The Master and stuff like that, you feel for him.
Yeah.
And I know that's your goal as a director. You're like, I want him to feel for this character, and he's so good at that. But I don't want to feel for the Joker. I don't want to relate to him. I don't want to feel like, you know what, you're right. The world doesn't get you, and you've
been done a disservice.
Just kill everybody. You know, like I don't want to.
Yeah, go watch "You Were Never Really Here" by Lynn Ramsey. I think it's on Amazon Prime.
So good.
The movie's incredible.
So good.
So yeah, it's like there are definitely things about this movie that I am excited for. But yeah, it's the message of the movie that I'm a little bit like, oh well, we'll see how it plays out. But you know, you hope for the best. You hope for the best. Joker.
Yeah. I guess that's our thoughts.
Yeah.
And some people are going to say we just hate DC stuff. And it's like, well, if you read between the lines, there's more complex conversation going on there.
Whatever. I don't care.
Nobody ever
I read some good
everything.
DC comics this week, so I don't give a shit.
Yeah, fuck yeah, you know, right? So I guess that's that. That's
the trailer.
That's the trailer. I guess we'll move on to talking about comic books.
Comic books.
I do like this. Ark says in the Twitch chat that even other villains in the Batman universe are afraid of the Joker. And I would agree with that, because he's an agent of chaos.
Yeah.
And they never know what he's going to do.
No one fucking trusts that character.
Yeah.
Nobody.
Yeah.
And as like diabolical as so many of those other villains are, even they're like, nah, I don't mess with, I don't fuck with this.
Yeah.
You know, so.
And that's going to be hard to make him the title character and make you like have all these feelings for him at the beginning, and then by the end, hopefully very clearly say like he's the bad guy.
Yeah. And honestly, if the movie does that at the very end.
If they do it, I swear to God, if they do it by making him like. All I ask, Todd Phillips, is him and his girlfriend have a complex relationship, and she loses faith in him through his actions, and it does end up becoming one of those things where you prove to us he's a bad guy by him abusing her or something like that. Like, please don't go that route. Please, for the love of God.
Yeah.
Be more original than that.
Yeah.
But, yeah. I don't think they will, based on what I'm seeing in the trailer. It makes it look like it's more like that's someone he trusts, and it's the world that lets him down.
Yeah.
So I hope it's more than that. But I really hope that they don't go the route of like he turns evil and flips a switch because a girl turns him down or does something like that. Because it'll be like,
don't lean into it.
I've had enough of it.
Yeah.
I'm tired of telling boys that this is like how the world works, because it's not. You're not entitled to anger.
And I would hope that, you know, the directors, the writers, but also just like DC, the brand, would be like, we don't want to do this. This is not how we want.
I'm not
this
even
character
saying that
to
they
be.
will.
Of course not.
I hope they don't.
Yeah.
I hope they don't. It's already like a tricky space to even show a movie with Joker and him have a girlfriend. There's a part of me that's like, I don't know.
I gotta go.
We already saw how he works with women, and it's always like right on that line of like,
Which is why I hope Birds of Prey is like, oh, thank God they addressed this.
I know, right? And she was very clear, like, we have to address this.
Yeah.
You got to. So let's talk about comic books. Lots of really good stuff came out this week. A lot of DC Marvel stuff this week. I was telling Adam, and maybe the DC had a better pull this week, because the Marvel stuff this week, I was kind of like, I don't know, I'm not feeling all these. A couple really good indie books came out though, so let's dive into it. Starting off the top, Wolverine Infinity Watch, the trade just came out today. I'm going to be reading this. I didn't get to read the individual issues. I read some of the tie-in stuff, but I didn't read the full thing. So I'm going to dive into that later. I didn't have time to jump all the way in there.
I was tempted to, because I was like, oh, cool, it's a trade. I can be caught up on this whole thing. And then I realized what time it was, and I was like, I should probably not.
Yeah.
But I want to.
Venom number 17 was good. I'm actually enjoying, if I was only reading Absolute Carnage and Venom, and that was it for the tie-ins of everything, I'd be like, you know what, this is good. But because it's Marvel, they decided to make everything else tie into Absolute Carnage. But Absolute Carnage and Venom, written by Donny Cates, is actually really fun. It's right in line with everything he's been doing with Venom. So if you're enjoying what he's doing with Venom, you'll enjoy this. So it's a good book. I like the stuff they're doing with the kids in this book. It's fun. It's different. It's dark.
Yeah.
It's a lot of what you would expect.
It's Venom.
Yeah. It's Venom. Did you get a chance to read The Flash?
I did not. I did not get a chance to read Flash or Superman. Or no, yes I did. I did read Superman.
You loved
I did read Superman. Okay,
love is a strong word?
That's very strong.
Okay,
well, I think a lot of it is because like there's a lot of context missing. And just from what I got from this issue, it seems like the destruction of Krypton is not actually what completely happened. Not all of Krypton was destroyed. So Superman, with the entire House of L, including General Zod, they go to basically all where all the realms and the planets have gathered, and they're trying to create a more or less an intergalactic United Nations. But in the context of the story, we get a little bit of a backstory as to what happens between General Zod and how what happened?
It logged me out again.
Oh, of course it did. But you get to see Superman and the House of L and a bunch of other characters sort of interacting, and Jor-El and Superman are engaging, and Superman basically tries to rescue Zod from this character. I think the character's name is Apex, and I don't know in terms of the greater context of the story what that character has done in the greater universe to sort of, I don't know, influence the other characters. But basically, Superman and Zod and the House of L, they all unite, and they basically go to try to create this like intergalactic United Nations, which the seed of that is sort of spawned by Jonathan Kent, the son, John Kent, Superman and Lois' son. And then the Legion of Superheroes show up from the 31st century, and they want to recruit one of the characters to come back into the future with them because of the events that have happened, and Superman thinks that he's the one that is going to be recruited when in fact it's not. They also do team up with Thanagar and all the characters there to really, I guess, sort of be like the backup to really help them sort of like win over all the other worlds. And Superman very clearly says like, look, I know this is the one time that I'm asking everyone to be united, and I understand that everyone may have a different stance on this whole idea and concept, but I think if there's going to be one uniting entity where we make decisions about how things are handled, and if we're going to, avoid things like the destruction of Krypton and who made those decisions to destroy Krypton and why, we need to have sort of like one major entity or governing entity that can help make those decisions publicly. So it's kind of like a political Superman issue, but I liked it and it's good. I think for me the biggest thing is like having the greater context of like, so Krypton wasn't destroyed. I read in another issue that Krypton wasn't destroyed. Who is this Apex character? What is his role in the greater universe, and why did he sort of deceive everybody about Krypton and the destruction of Krypton, and what is his role in the destruction of Krypton? So it's interesting to see General Zod and Superman unite, because they usually are always at odds. So that was really cool. And then also, Jor-El is alive. Like, that's Jor-El in the center panel. What is his role in all of this? I think for a while, a lot of people were like, well, is it a clone? Like, is this really Jor-El? Is this some other character pretending to be Jor-El? But apparently it's really Jor-El, and Krypton was destroyed to an extent, but, so it's interesting. I would like to pick up the trades, and I would like to sort of start at the beginning of this arc and figure out how we got there and what's going to come of this. Is John Kent going to end up going to the 31st century with the Legion of Heroes? Really interesting stuff. So there's a lot of really cool seeds in there.
overall, would you recommend it?
Yeah.
Okay.
But I think you do need the context. I think you really need the context of what's happening in the greater universe.
So you decided to read a trade, all 119 pages
Fucking
of Star
didn't
Wars
know.
Vader Dark Vision.
I really need to pay attention to the page numbers. I thought it was a new Darth Vader comic book, so I thought, oh, this is gonna be fun. It's good. It's Darth Vader Dark Visions number 1 through 5. The first.
Yo, Darth Vader's on a horse with a fucking shield.
Dude, it's rad. He fights this like. Well, I don't remember him having a shield, but he fights this gigantic monster on this like alien planet. And the way it's sort of set up is the Rebels and the Imperials are fighting over this planet. Darth Vader comes in and he tries to destroy the Rebels. His ship gets damaged, so he has to like crash land on this planet. Meanwhile, the story is being narrated by this alien boy, and he sees Darth Vader as this like godlike figure.
You damn right he does.
In, just like completely covered in black with his red flaming sword, and they have this like godlike creature on this planet that basically has kind of like almost enslaved the people because it doesn't let them leave. It doesn't let them do anything. It fully controls what these people do, and they've tried to defeat it, and they can't defeat it. And Darth Vader is the one character that can seemingly destroy this enormous creature. So he comes out. So he's very much represented like this godlike character.
Yeah.
So he has this enormous battle with this giant shark-looking thing that I don't even know what the hell it is. And this boy is basically looking from afar and watching this godlike man, warrior, completely in black with this giant flaming sword defeat this creature. And that's just the first story.
That's cool.
Then there's other stories that help sort of like tie into this, and they give a little context and backstory as to like how we got to this point, which includes a rebel fighter who loses his father, who then goes on this huge 20-something-year-old, 15-year journey to become a rebel pilot.
This spread is dope.
Dude, it's nuts, man.
That's
like
a
this
dope
character does
spread.
some crazy they do some crazy shit with Darth Vader in this. And it's probably like one of the most unique things I've seen Darth Vader do in Star Wars comic books. And it's fun. It's seeing Vader from a different perspective of like really embracing the warrior element. Like, it's nuts, man. And also, I think the thing that makes it even crazier than I think it potentially could be.
Does he just make it shut his own mouth?
Yes.
He closes. Ugh.
Yeah. I think what also makes it even crazier is you find out that the story is being told from the perspective of the kid to the rest of the tribe. So I think there's a lot of exaggeration, but I think it makes it that much fucking cooler when you see Vader just standing there and the way it's portrayed and all that stuff. And then he gets sucked back up by the Imperial cruiser. But this kid doesn't realize, like, I don't know if this kid really realizes who Vader is. He must not.
Nah, man.
Because Vader spares his life.
This is just some fucking, Empire propaganda shit.
Totally.
Yo,
100%.
we need to make the universe think they need us. Drop Vader on a planet to kill a god.
So there's 4 other stories that sort of help tie into this, and includes, you follow some Imperial officers and their story of trying to, defeat the rebels and catch this ship. You find out about this rebel pilot. So there's a lot of really fun stories that tie this together. I would say that this first issue was sort of the most bonkers, crazy, batshit thing that's in there. But the other ones are really fun, sort of space adventures. So I recommend it. I liked it a lot.
All right, coming up next, we got Spider-Man Life Story, the last one. I know there were a couple issues of this I didn't like. As it went, I liked it more, because I felt like getting through the teens and 20s of Spider-Man, Peter Parker, he was a real dick, and I did not like him.
Oh, that's right.
What's that?
Really quick. There is an issue that I actually thought was my second favorite issue. Redman Scott points out. There's an issue where a woman who works with like the doctor on the Death Star or on the Imperial cruiser falls in love with Darth Vader, is infatuated with Darth Vader, and it doesn't end well.
Oh.
But it's great. Sorry, go ahead.
Ooh. All right. But yeah, Spider-Man Life Story, number 6 of 6. Last one, Spider-Man's an old dude. This one hit me in the fucking feels. This one got me in the feels.
Yeah.
Because this whole thing was he was going to tell us the life of Peter Parker in one controlled universe, and then each era he'd kind of bring in villains that were part of that era. And this one is Dr. Octopus inhabiting the brain of Spider-Man, but not the Spider-Man you would think. And how that all goes down. And the setup's a little silly, but the way it ends really got me, really choked me up. I was like, that's a good ending.
Yeah.
So hats off to you, Zdarsky. I did not have any faith in your story in issue 2 and 3, but you really brought it back for me.
Yeah.
I really like the last couple issues of this, but
Nice.
that ending really, got me.
Got you good, eh?
Got me good, man. Got me really good. I didn't get a chance to read the She-Hulk annual, but I will.
Now's a good time to start.
Now's a good time to start. Resonant number 2. This indie book is fucking wild.
Yeah.
I love the world building in this. I'm just super fucking in to the world building of Resonant. I'm excited about everything that's been being set up in this book right now. It's a dope premise. I know we talked about it last time. This issue 1 came out, and it's only 2 issues in, so if you want to start, now's the time. But it's basically like, they call it the wave, and it's like a sound that rolls through the land, and it makes you go fucking crazy. So people like tie themselves down and hold themselves down to keep them from killing each other and themselves.
Did this come out? Did the first issue come out last week? I feel like it was
Not
very
last week,
recent.
it was a month ago, yeah.
Damn, it feels like it was so
Once
recent.
a month.
Okay.
It's really good. And they set up that these cicadas can warn you that it's coming. So these cicadas have value. And you find out that this dad is traveling to the nearest town to trade some of his cicadas in for medicine. Because these cicadas warn you of the wave coming. And you see the dad didn't get a chance to tie himself down, so he like meditates and he's able to overcome it, but his family's not so lucky.
Yeah.
Like they're supposed to lock themselves away, and you see like this daughter who only has one leg, and you know somebody in her family cut that fucking leg off.
That's right, I remember
her
this
arms
now, yeah.
are like covered in scratches, and she explains how she was ripping off the skin of her arms, and she didn't know why.
Yeah.
It's just crazy. It's a really cool fucking book. I'm digging it.
Oh, damn.
I'm digging everything about it. He finds a dog in this book, and there's more to this dog than we know. That is for sure.
Of course there is.
And it sets up some stuff that I'm excited to find out in the next issue. I don't want to tell you because the issue ends on a little bit of a cliffhanger, but I'm loving this book right now. I think it's one of the most unique stories.
Yeah.
And I'm reading a lot of really unique indie books, and it's really unique, and
Nice.
it's got a really cool vibe to it.
Yeah.
I'm digging it a lot. After Resonant, now this book, I was so proud of you. This was I had a moment today. Adam and I were sitting at some schwanky fucking coffee shop this morning where all these Hollywood celebs hang out and reading comic books. And I look over and I see this really graphic shit. And I'm like, what are you reading? And I see he's reading Mountainhead. I'm like, oh, Adam's reading an indie book.
That was the first book I read today.
And I didn't get a chance to read it, so I didn't recommend it to him. Adam's just like, he's like, I'm gonna check out this indie book. And I was like, it made my heart like.
Well, the thing that excited me was 2 things. I love, it was a number 1, first of all, so that got me excited. I liked the title, but I also liked the cover design work. Like I thought the cover was really, really cool.
This art's crazy.
Yeah. So basic premise for this story: it's a father-son duo.
Do I need to be careful scrolling through it? Is it that bad?
Not really.
Okay,
There's not too much stuff here. It's the beginning where it gets kind of bonkers. But the basic premise and the basic setup is, this might be a little spoilery, but whatever. The basic premise is that it's a father-son duo, and they're a group of thieves. And they've been going sort of house to house, and the dad is really trying to teach the son the value of how nothing that any of these people have actually has any value. It's stuff that they've just kind of consumed that they own, and it's stuff that they're not gonna miss. But they still have to be really, really careful. They need to make sure that they're not, seen and captured and all that sort of stuff. The mother is dead at this point, but they go into this house and they think that everything's all fine and dandy. Come to find out, there is actually somebody in the house. An old man is in the house, and they get the cops called on them. And the thing that the dad told the son was, if anything ever goes south, I want you to be the one who puts me out of my misery, basically. So there's some crazy shit that happens. I don't really know how far I want to get into telling you what happens.
Don't.
Because some stuff you find out.
Setup.
You find out some crazy shit. There's also moments where I'm like, is this kid seeing demons or not seeing demons? There's a lot of stuff that's playing with you mentally that you're not sure if it's like reality or if it's just all in this kid's head. And then there are things that are revealed about this kid that you're like, whoa, how much of this do I believe? How much of this do I think is bullshit? And where's this gonna go? I really dug it. I thought it was really, really good.
Whoa, look at
These
those.
are Tony Starks. How do I look? Do I look like $1 million man?
No, but
Cool.
they're pretty dope.
Fuck you.
They're pretty dope.
Fuck you, Zach. But it was great. I would highly recommend it. I can't wait to see where it goes from there.
I'm gonna check that one out for sure. Marvel
Marvel's
Monsters #1.
I really wanted to read this.
Yeah, I think this is another Colin Bunn book, dude. Like 4 of the books I got this week were Colin Bunn.
Really?
Dude's
Wow.
busy.
Damn, that's pretty impressive,
Dude is
man.
busy, and like all on different publishers too, which is wild. Another Colin Bunn book right here, Maynard Black #2, which by the way, I think one of these was also Colin Bunn, one of the other indies. Anyway, oh yeah, Knights Temporal is also Colin Bunn.
Oh, this is another one I wrote, yeah.
Yeah, so Maynard Black, I'm digging so far. It's basically about this group of, in this world, magicians exist. And it sounds like there's families and schools, you know, but not really the Harry Potter thing. And the first issue starts with a girl on the run, and it sets up this family and this dad who the kids are trying to pressure into handing over his empire to them, and he doesn't want it. And then the second he meets this girl out in the woods who's on the run, he like bonds his blood with her so she can get his empire and not his kids. And then now they're discovering like she's a part of some bigger mystery. People are spontaneously combusting on fire. It's got a lot of horror vibes to it. So even though it's like a magic thing, it's drawn and paced like a horror story, which makes it more interesting. But yeah, there's like, she's a part of some firehouse, and you find out that that whole house is dead or something.
Yeah.
But it's got a lot of horror vibes for sure. So I'm super into it.
Yeah, between this and Mountainhead, like that one also had like, I feel like it's eventually going to lean into horror. Just from what I kind of get, and I like that. I like seeing horror in comic books. Like to me,
I do too.
As like someone who like loves horror, yeah, the superhero stuff is cool, but that's like a completely different thing. I like seeing horror in comics, and this is cool too. I like the use of color. I like how it very specifically, it has like a Sin City-ish vibe to it, which I think is cool.
I think one of my favorite, I'm trying to remember the name of it. Give me 1 sec, because I don't want to say the name wrong. It's like, is that what it is? Oh shit, I spelled it wrong.
That wouldn't be the first time.
Dude, I am really bad at spelling. No, stop it.
That's the English word you're looking for.
Yeah, that's it. Okay, so my favorite horror book of all time, comic-wise, and if you guys haven't read this, I cannot recommend it enough. It's called Infidel, and it's like Racism the Horror Story.
Oh shit, okay.
Yeah, and it's, dude, makes you think.
Yeah. Well, it said selected for NPR's 100 favorite horror stories of all time.
Yeah. It's fucking great. The art is phenomenal. And it's so interesting, it makes racism a horror villain.
Wow, this quote, racism's a cancer that never gets cured. The best you get is remission. Shit.
Yeah, dude.
That's heavy.
It's a heavy fucking book. So
wow.
if you like horror comics, I feel like this is one of the best horror comics I've ever read.
Wow.
Like right off the bat, you start with that,
That's
and I was like,
trip.
my skin was crawling. I read it in the middle of the night, and I was like, oh God, what is this book? What's going on?
Lights on, lights on, lights on.
And you find out like this version of what she's seeing is like all just like based on like, it's a crazy book. It's a crazy book.
Yeah.
I don't want to ruin anything for you.
Yeah.
I don't want to spoil absolutely anything. And it's on Comixology Unlimited, so if you have Unlimited, it's a free download. Such a good fucking book.
Right on.
And there's so many little things in it that you're just like, oh my God, this is so uncomfortable. The amount of like, just like weird shit.
Yeah.
I can't. Oof. So good. Highly recommend. Highly recommend. Let's go back to the books from this week.
Yeah. Mikey, I think he liked it.
Oh gosh.
Is it a single volume?
It's just like that. I mean, it's on my account.
Okay.
So there's 5 issues.
Perfect.
Yeah, it's a quick read, and it'll get in your head. It'll get in your fucking head. I thought about that book for weeks after I read it, and it's a story that can only be told by someone who's lived through it.
Yeah.
You know, like I could never tell that story. There's no way. It's just too personal and too fucking real. Too fucking real. Okay, let's see here. Next up. Tonight's Temporal. So there's another Cullen Bunn book on Aftershock. Aftershock putting out a lot of good shit lately. This one's really interesting. The first issue set things up in a way where I kind of thought I knew what was going on.
Yeah.
This issue totally like flips fucking everything. It gets bonkers. There's some weird shit going on with like time displacement. I just thought that he had like never died in issue 1, and he's like modern time knight, and he's got Excalibur's sword and all this stuff, and like, or a sword, I don't know, it's not Excalibur's sword, but he's got a sword, and he's got this woman that's with him who's always been by his side and all this stuff, and he doesn't remember what's going on. The last issue gets a little fucked up whenever she like, somebody recognized him, and it was like from the 60s, and he's like, how did that guy recognize me? And she's like, lies to him that the guy got caught in the crossfire, but she stabbed this innocent bystander. So you're like, wait, she's not, like, what's going on? And then this issue just gets fucking bonkers.
Yeah.
Like,
interesting.
It's jumping through all the different timelines at once, and at one point, he like gets clawed by this demon, and he heals it, and then a time version of him in the past is like, and reveals like, so like when he healed it, it just transferred that energy of that, or transferred the exact injury to a past version of himself.
What the hell?
I was like, I don't know what the fuck's going on, but this is great.
That's crazy.
It's getting my brain all sorts of like...
Interesting.
Yeah. Really wild. I thought I knew where it was going after issue 1.
Not
now
so
at the end of
much.
issue 2, I'm like, I don't have any fucking clue what this book's going to be, and it makes me more excited for it. Killers number 2 from Valiant. This is a fun series. I like number 1 better. I can't wait for Ninja K to show up in it. My boy Ninjak. But as of right now, it's just kind of jumping through all of the ninja, the people who are in the ninja program, A through K, and their B book.
Gotcha.
Did you read Justice League?
No, I didn't get a chance to read Justice League.
We did read House of X, so we're going to talk about that last.
Oops. I'm just kidding.
You read it.
Of course I read it. Come on.
You read it.
Here's the thing: is like whenever I feel like I'm gonna run out of time, I'm like, okay, book, time for X-Men.
Right.
I have to.
Okay.
I really wanted to read Dr. Mirage.
I fucking loved it.
Damn it!
I
gotta go back and read
Dr.
it.
Mirage is one of my favorite characters from Valiant. For those that don't know, Dr. Mirage is a character who can talk to the dead, and at one point she had a TV show, and she was kind of like
what?
Yeah, she had a
That's
TV
cool.
show where she would like talk to people's past. You know, like how those TV
Yeah,
shows in the
yeah,
90s.
yeah.
When this character was created, it was in the 90s, and it kind of tracked.
Yeah.
And as Valiant was relaunched in like 2012, and they brought back Dr. Mirage, they definitely updated that, where she's like, that business has run out for her.
Gotcha.
This starts really interesting. It starts like she's being directed. Like she's being directed on a set.
Oh.
And you think it's just in her head.
Yeah.
And there's all this stuff going on. The color work is great. The
Yeah.
art is great. And it gets weird really quick. I love the Dr. Mirage stuff. For those that don't know much about Valiant, there's this whole world called the Dead Side, which is their version of hell and all the stuff that's going on there. And she could like travel into the dead side through the help of her husband who died, but she could speak to the dead, so her husband was still always with her. And this book starts, you start to realize she can no longer speak to the dead, and she can no longer speak to her husband, so she's losing faith in herself and all this stuff. And then this strange girl shows up and tells her the reason you can't talk to the dead is because you are dead and you're trapped in hell.
Whoa.
And then it just gets really crazy, and I'm pumped. It's so good.
That looks cool.
Yeah. I'm pumped.
That's a thing to find out. Hey, by the way, you're dead.
Yeah, it's really cool. And this kid's been talking to her husband, and she said that her husband sent her there and told her to talk to her. And it's good. It's great. Good dialogue, good art, good weird shit about death and trippy stuff. It's great.
Yeah.
I just, look at that. That's a great spread.
Yeah, that's awesome. Yeah.
Great spread. Good shit. I have
Look at this
nothing but
great
good
spread.
things to say. All right, I'm trying to think. We may only have 1 or 2 more books to talk about before we jump into X-Men.
Yeah.
Boop, boop, beep, 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 beep.
One of them has to be Batman, Superman. That's
Oh, you
from
read
this-
that one, right?
That's from this week, right? Please tell me it's from this week.
We've got Detective Comics. Did you get a
I
chance
didn't
to
get
read
a chance
that?
to Detective Comics.
I didn't get I downloaded Captain Marvel Volume 1 so I could catch up on it. I really wanted to read Captain
Me
America this
too.
week. I didn't have time. I
Yeah.
really wanted to read Black Panther. I
Yep.
didn't have time.
Okay, good. This was from this week. Thank God.
Yep.
So this is interesting. This is another one of those stories where like I really want to go back and figure out who the Batman Who Laughs is. The very basic premise of it is that it is a Batman from an alternate universe.
Who's the Joker?
Who was merged with Batman and Joker.
Yeah.
So it's half Batman, half Joker, is now in our world. And
that was from Metal, right?
Yes. The character was first introduced, I think, in 2017, like 2 years ago or something. So this character has basically now infiltrated our world. Batman and Superman are teaming up to try and figure out who this character is, what the hell they're doing in their universe. And it is a definite trip. And Batman and Superman, you definitely get vibes of like, well, what's going on?
What's going on here?
Superman shows up. He gets the call from Batman of like, hey, you're needed at the Watchtower. There's something happening up there. He shows up and all these characters have been murdered. And he's just like, what in the hell is happening? Then when he goes up there, he realizes that the whole place has been exposed to kryptonite. So he starts dying. And then universe basically gets destroyed.
What the fuck?
So I think this is their way of kind of giving you a little bit of the lay of the land as to like who this Batman Who Laughs is. And then it goes into our timeline where Commissioner Gordon and Batman are having a conversation and Batman is sort of recapping what's been happening. So Superman sort of has context as to what's going on because Batman and Superman are going to team up and figure out what's going on. There might be something a little bit shady about James Gordon.
Oh.
Maybe a little bit. So James Gordon basically tells him that, hey, like this kid's been kidnapped, and these two are gonna go team up and try to figure out like where this kid is, what's happened. They've discovered the lair of the Batman Who Laughs. He's got some like really weird trinkets and things on display, and one of those trinkets may or may not be what you think they are.
Okay.
But I think it's a really cool, what I think it does really, really well is because it teams up Batman and Superman, it gives you an opportunity to sort of get their different perspectives and see where they're the same, where they're different. And if you've never really dove into a Batman-Superman team-up book, I think it's always nice to establish how they are kind of two different sides of the same coin. Even though they're both heroes, they may have different approaches for certain things, and their trust levels might be different, and all this sort of stuff. But I really liked sort of the setup of who the Batman Who Laughs is and like what universe he came from, because now I want to go back and I want to find out more about, well, what the hell happened that got him into our world, and why is he here? What's his purpose? You find out that he can infect people because he's built these special batarangs, and he's more or less gone through and infiltrated and taken out a lot of members of the Justice League. And there's a lot more to this story of like, what is this Robin? Who do we think he is? Not who you think he is.
Yeah. Okay. Well, I'm gonna stop giving things away. I feel like I'm clicking through too much here.
So I'm super excited to see where this goes because holy shit, it's gonna get wild. It's gonna get really tough for Batman and Superman to defeat Shazam.
A crazy Shazam.
A crazy Shazam. So I really dug it. I really liked it, and I want to see where it goes. But I also, like with a lot of other DC books, you know, because a lot of this stuff ties into each other.
Yeah,
you kind of need to
YouTube
go
chat
through.
saying you got to go read the miniseries of the Batman Who Laughs.
Yes, and I think that's pretty recent. I think that just wrapped up issue. I don't remember which issue, 5, not too long ago. So you can get caught up pretty quick. But I definitely recommend the context because I think you're going to need that.
Man, so as far as what's left that I think was read, I read through Absolute Carnage. A lot of fun, especially the opening.
Yeah.
And I know they released some of those pages on Twitter, not like last week.
Yeah.
But the opening was really great with Venom and Spider-Man basically getting their ass handed to them. They can't win.
Yeah.
You know, like they're getting their ass kicked. And Venom flies away. It's his symbiote now. He can like make the demon wings and like flies away. And there's this great like, it's a good Spider-Man Venom moment because Spider-Man's just not fucking having it.
That's cool.
Yeah, what is going
Wow.
on? I hate it. I hate all of it.
Oh my god.
But it's good. It's a really fun read. It's really dark, really crazy. It's exactly what you would expect from Absolute Carnage.
Yeah.
I mean, what do you expect?
Yeah.
But
Absolute Carnage.
you're in good hands with Donny Cates. So
Yeah.
The other ones that I read was The Amazing Spider-Man and The Avengers. Look, this is tough because I did read Thor too. Actually, Thor was another one. Thor was great. It was the last issue of Thor before King Thor starts. And it tied up a lot of loose ends, sets up King Thor. And honestly, it was a very wholesome book because it's like all these people in Asgard. There's supposed to be a big ceremony to celebrate Thor becoming, the All-Father.
Yeah.
And Odin is all like upset because Thor's late, but Thor's out on Midgard and other worlds just like being a good god and like helping everyone and not showing up to the party and just like trying to earn his keep.
Yeah.
And it's a really great like one-shot little book just about Thor being a really good leader and representation of the All-Father. And it sets up kind of King Thor and where it's headed with a little thing at the end about future Thor being like, sorry, everything is shit from here on out for you.
Yeah.
But it always amazes me to read how good Jason Aaron's Thor is and how bad his Avengers is. I have liked so few of his Avengers books. It feels like they're trying to make something that's like for adults, but from the perspective of a kid. Like his Avengers run is like, if you told me a 15-year-old wrote these books, I'd go, yeah, okay, I believe it. Like he's bringing in all this crazy shit that at first you're like, that sounds awesome. Blade and instead of Man-Thing, it's Boy-Thing and they're living inside of a celestial in the mountain. And the first part of this run, it's like the Avengers in the caveman times, and there's always been Avengers. And here's Johnny Blaze as a caveman riding a mammoth, and it just feels like it's written by a 15-year-old.
Interesting.
And it doesn't feel like Jason Aaron,
Yeah.
and I don't get it. And to have Thor's voice so strong here, and then to jump into Avengers, I'm just like, what is happening?
Do you think it maybe has something to do with Jason Aaron thinking that Avengers is sort of meant to be kind of like childlike and big and just fun, and Thor is like, well, now we're focusing on Thor. Let's take this character seriously. Let's do some like real character work with Thor.
I don't know what they're doing, honestly. They set up a lot of different storylines, but they're all like stuff that I think people would have thought sounded cool in the 90s, but yet it doesn't have that 90s flair either.
Gotcha.
Where it's like one of the main villains is Dracula, and then it's the Russians, it's just, and it's like I don't know what the fuck they're doing. It's just weird. It's just weird, and maybe some people really dig it because it is like really old school in a way with its presentation, but I'm not feeling it. I'm not feeling it. And I kind of feel the same way about Spider-Man. Whereas a lot of the indie books this week really sold me. A lot of the Marvel books, I was just kind of like, okay.
Yeah.
I wasn't feeling them. I do love when Spencer writes villains, and I think the criminal syndicate in this book was really fun. But I still get this feeling when I'm reading Spencer Spider-Man that I'm like, this is a side story, not the main event. And his run of The Amazing Spider-Man is supposed to be the main event, and it kind of feels like a fun side story. So I'm really hoping that it starts building more towards what the future of Spider-Man is supposed to be, because I'm not getting any of that right now.
Okay.
So, whatever, that's it. Let's talk about the good. Let's talk about the really good shit, which is the fucking X-Men.
Yeah.
House of X, number 3 of 6. Woo!
This was like another fast read issue.
Yep, this is another.
I finished it and I was like, wait, that's it? Oh,
Yeah.
Okay, cool.
Yeah. Dude, I'm loving this shit.
Yeah, it's really good.
Monet's in this one. Monet is some hot sauce.
Oh my God.
That's a character right there. I love Monet. Anytime she shows up in an X book, I'm like, fuck yeah, bring that Monet to the table. This line leading into it. So now I have so many theories about what the fuck is going on. Because Xavier seems so fucking confident, and then with everything that goes down, I'm like, these have to be clones. These have to be. Maybe we saw people like, or I started thinking like what we saw at the beginning. Is going to be the beginning of the next issue of House of X.
Well, interesting. Okay.
Because you know how the Mariah stuff.
Mora.
I
Yeah.
say that every time.
Yeah.
Every time. Thank you, Luke Cage on Netflix, for fucking that over.
Yeah.
You know how they showed that in the first issue, that page, but it didn't have context?
Mm-hmm.
I'm starting to think that the first part of House of X, whenever you see Jean and Scott coming out of Krakoa and Xavier standing over them, is going to come, like, timeline-wise, is going to play after this book. That's what I think.
Okay.
So I'm feeling like we had our Scott.
Yeah.
But now we're going to, like...
I mean, look.
Because he sounds so fucking confident.
And the Scott that we saw, I think it was in the first issue, or maybe it was first issue or second issue, he was real cocky. Like, it does seem like two very different personalities.
I feel like that Scott's this Scott.
Yeah.
I still feel like it's the same Scott. I feel like just the part where we see them being born is going to be happening after this issue.
Sure. And I think when you... And look, I have very limited comic book knowledge. This is just me spitballing. But I think if you're going to introduce that concept of potentially like growing beings, then I think there is definitely a lot of opportunity of like, well, the characters are kind of expendable because we can kind of bring them back. But at like what point does this now become impossible or too much or we don't have the ability to do this anymore? Like how much of that repetition can you do where you can constantly bring back characters?
Dude, I love...
But like, a lot of these conversations are really good.
Magneto's saying too, like, for you to die, you would have to be forgotten.
Yes.
So they're definitely like hinting right off the bat, you're gonna die on this mission.
Yeah. I mean, the way it ends, you're like, there has to be some casualty. There can't not be a casualty. But I love this. It's so refreshing and nice to see Scott, at least in comic book form. You know, cinematically, we've never gotten a chance to really see Scott Summers, leader of the X-Men, or one of the leaders of the X-Men, really taking charge and being the go-between between Xavier and the rest of the team. Like, it's so nice to finally, like, read this in a book, you know, and to really see him engaging with all the characters, whether it's Monet, Jean, Mystique, you know, throwing a little bit of, like, shade at Mystique of, like, yo, you paying attention? She's like, my ears work just fine, Summers. I'm like, God damn, these characters, whew. It's a hoot. It's a hoot seeing a lot of these characters together, and to see their mission and what they're about to go do, and whether or not that's going to be successful.
I love how there's no explanation on why Jean Grey is in 60s Jean Grey costume, and no one else is.
Yeah.
That's just how it is.
Yeah. And I'm sure all of those little things were very strategic.
I do love this fucking shot though.
This was so sick.
Because when you first see this, you're like, of course they're on the fucking moon. They showed us that they planted a thing on the moon. We're just assuming that this version of Krakoa that they're in was the one that we saw in Jerusalem.
Yeah.
But that was a strategic like point.
Yeah.
Where they all are stationed is on the fucking moon.
I turned the page and I saw this and I went, wait a second. This whole time I was thinking they were on Earth.
Yep.
Fuck me. Fuck me.
And they're just jumping around with Krakoa.
Yeah.
Which makes a lot of sense because the books that are coming out when this ends, like one of them is about the X-Men, like they have their new base on the moon and blah, blah, and I'm like, fuck, you know, shit.
Yeah, no, like so much incredible, like, and like if you, it's just so smart, and it's sprinkling seeds and it's leaving little hints and pieces all over the place, and then it's these like slow revelations of what's actually happening. Like the top panel, because I read it in guided view, so I go panel to panel. So I'm in the top panel and I'm like, cool, they're going on their mission. And then it like pulls back to this shot of the moon with Krakoa and Earth in the far distance. I'm going, son of a bitch. You know, like it's a very satisfying read for me. And I just love all the setup that's happening.
It's so cinematic.
It is.
It's super cinematic.
It is, man.
I do love all of this breaking down. Again, all these graphs setting up the X-Men universe for the future. And that's what I feel like's happening here. This isn't just setting up the knowledge for these books. It's telling you, for the future of X-Men, these are all the things you need to know.
Yeah.
This is everything that's going to be in play.
Yeah. A lot of timeline stuff of like what's happening, how are we getting there, what's happened, how do things then progress to the next chapter. It's like you really got to pay attention to all the detail work, you know. And I remember the first issue that we read, I kind of skimmed through this because I thought it was just kind of like, oh, it's just
filler
material.
So important.
Then I got to the end and I was like, oh, I'm gonna go back and like read what this is, and I went, oh, you can't skip this shit, man. It's super important to the greater story.
So important. So important. It's literally just extra dialogue for you.
Yeah.
I really liked this whole scene.
This whole court hearing was
great.
tense as
Somebody just
shit.
said nothing happens in this issue, and
What?
I disagree because I feel like what this issue does better than all the others is it's setting the world for us and the characters within that world. Which by this point I'm like, I need some of this. I need some of the inner team dialogue, the world setup, what's happening outside, not just continued plot point. Like, give me some world stuff.
Yeah.
Let me sit in this world for a little bit and know how things are working.
Well, because we also haven't seen Sabretooth since I think, was it issue 2, right?
Yep.
Yeah. So it's like
After
the
he stole
last,
stuff,
it's
yeah.
the last issue, but we've now sat with 2 issues of Powers of 10. So it's been like 4 like issues in this ongoing series that we've seen Sabretooth. This was a really great moment, and like his attorney being like, oh, we want to have all the charges dropped. He's like, ah, man, I'm crazy. I did all these things. I loved that, and then having Emma Frost come in. Yeah,
like a boss, me and like,
you can't do anything.
Diplomatic immunity.
Yeah, you can't do anything. And this judge is just like, man, this is bullshit. And like, this is how the new world has been set up. Yeah, it's like really, really great work.
All this is so great.
Yeah, it's so just like, again, everything has purpose, and that's what I love.
I also like that Creed straight up says like, that thing's a killer, just like my mama made me.
Yeah.
And I ain't close to done. And it's
Yep.
like,
yeah, man, there's a lot of wicked work done.
But that's also part of what like, this is all intentional. This
Yes.
has to be to show us like, if Xavier is willing to let someone like Sabretooth into his family when Sabretooth is so very clearly like, I ain't done killing.
Yep.
And he's being offered diplomatic immunity on Krakoa, like, that's purposeful. We're supposed to understand, like, this is how far they've fallen out of the fear of what will happen.
Yep.
Like, the Xavier we know shouldn't be making these kinds of decisions.
Yeah. Yeah, and just seeing the rest of the world sort of react to the idea of like, well, we have diplomatic immunity, and so many people are against it, but it's like, this is you can't go against that. You can't, because then humanity will have become just as bad as their mutant counterparts, or as they see their mutant counterparts.
And I loved this conversation with Omega and the scientist because it adds a lot of complexity there. Omega is a Sentinel. She is technically a Sentinel, and she's arguing for why it would be dangerous for Mother Mole to be operational.
Yeah.
Because the human part of her is like, at what point do the machines just decide we're no longer relevant?
And yeah, exactly.
And it's such a great conversation that adds a lot of complexity to the villains in this world, and especially Omega. And her being very much like, yeah, you may think this is a good idea, but it's probably not.
Yeah.
And apparently she knows Kurt.
That's right.
And I missed that.
Nightcrawler, yeah.
Damn, there's just so much good stuff in here.
Well, and it's like, I like the tactical strategy that the X-Men, like, you can tell that as a writer, there's also like a lot of thought put into like, okay, tactically how the X-Men approach this mission, and then how do we get these other characters to not basically know and slowly realize it as it's happening, but then like it's too late. Like the X-Men know what they're doing.
Okay, so they're saying, and I feel pretty dumb for not knowing this. I feel like I should. Karima used to be an X-Men member. So that's news to me. I must have missed that book and missed that line. And Urali says Karima knows Kurt when she first became an Omega Sentinel. So, man, I must have missed that storyline. So much good shit. Yeah. And I do love, like, I like this whole scene with Omega too, and her being like, disappointing that a foe like Cyclops would be taking such a direct, like, approach.
Yeah.
Oh, she was on Brian Wood's all-women team. Fuck, did she have different costume and hair then, and am I just forgetting? Damn, I feel like I'm missing some shit there. But again, I love everything about this book. Yes, there's less like stuff to debate. And this is more of a linear action book. But I think the big hook is going to be after this issue, we realized that the scene where they were being born in Krakoa was after
probably
this
going to play
happened.
into this. Yeah. Well, I think also, and I like having issues like this because, yes, it's kind of to the point, but it's a nice break from all the other time jumping and, you know, dealing with multiple, like that's still in here. There's still elements of that in here, but it's also nice to just see the X-Men go on a mission and just like, cool, we have a goal we have to accomplish. We got to do it. And here we go. Here's the mission.
And I'm not going to show them this page.
Yeah.
I'm going to leave the ending a surprise for people.
Yeah, there's a lot of mystery at the end, which I like really dug.
Oh, this is what's crazy.
The Krakoan language.
Who's going to go back?
Yeah, and decipher this
to reveal this in like the 5th book in the series, who's going to go back and start reading all the messages that have been hidden? I don't have time to do that. Somebody else fucking do it.
There's a lot there. There's a lot there, potentially.
A lot there. They give you the entire language of Krakoan.
Mm-hmm.
And you could go back, you have the cipher, and you could go back in there, and you could figure it out. Did you see Jonathan Hickman already tweeted out today, somebody made a font.
Really?
Somebody made a font as a TTF.
No shit.
And he's like, I won't officially promote this because I didn't make it, but this is awesome. And then he said something like, and don't send me things in this because it's too convoluted. I can't read this shit.
That's amazing. That's
so
rad.
Good.
Yeah, no, it's really strong. And again, like I love the fact that it's like you get these very heavy, very dialogue-driven issues. And not that this one isn't. This one has a lot of dialogue and a lot of important stuff.
Just less confusing stuff to me.
Yeah, it's just like, cool, we're going on a mission. We have to do this. Here's what we're trying to accomplish. Great. I dug it so much.
SoloStream says, I've been trying to translate it, but there were a couple of characters that aren't there.
Ooh.
Interesting.
The plot thickens.
It does. So that's all the X-Men books this week.
Or just all the books in general.
Which immediately I'm like, who's gonna...
who's deciphering this?
Who's gonna decipher these last 2 pages?
Who's gonna tweet us all these messages
what is
and
this?
what they all say?
What does it say? Come on, I don't have the time.
The last message says it will be done.
The last message says it will be done. Oh, Jesus Christ.
Zach, you know you want to spend 15 hours deciphering.
But I mean, I do, because like this is the kind of shit I put in Kolak where I'm like, I want my shit to be like this.
Yeah.
And then he does it, and everybody's like, you're just ripping off Hickman. I'm like, damn it. Shit. Fuck.
But it's good stuff, though.
It's good stuff. Thank you guys so much for hanging out today for Comics and Coffee.
Yeah.
We talked about the Joker. We talked about D23.
X-Men.
We talked about all the comic books we read this week. What are you reading? What are you excited about? What book did you pick up today? Make sure to tweet at HyperRPG, tag Adam and I. Let us know what you picked up, what you're reading. We'd love to know. And that's Hyper_RPG on Twitter. Thank you guys on Facebook, YouTube. I think we got like 2 minutes, like 2 or 3 minutes before we have to cut away. So if anyone has a question, especially like just YouTube, Facebook, Twitch, whatever, ask. We've only got a couple minutes and we'll try to answer them for you.
Yeah.
Yeah, and hit that like button and leave comments over on YouTube. Hit the like button on Facebook. Comment if you do.
We do this show every Wednesday at 5 p.m. Pacific.
Somebody was asking what She-Hulk comic to start with earlier. My favorite's Charles Seal, She-Hulk run. Love it. Love it, love it, love it.
Do you have any 1 to 2 volume complete series recommendations?
Well, Infidel. Just because we just talked about it. I'm really bad at answering these questions on the spot because I read like 30 comic books
you have to go
a week.
through and be like, how many is there?
I read so many. I have to think about it. Have you heard of Top Cow Productions? Yeah. I know one of the founders of Top Cow. He's a friend. Should have him on sometime. Actually, he lives in Seattle, so never mind that. But, yeah, it's good. Good. I picked up Straczynski's first Spider-Man after y'all recommend it, and it was great. Yeah!
Boom, 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 boom.
It's the best.
There you go.
Best. When's Agents of Atlas released? Well, the first issue already came out. You should go check it out, Shadow. I'm sure you know that. But, yeah. Oh, we are doing a hyperdrive this weekend. For everybody who's watching right now, and I'm doing an X-Men hyperdrive. I'm so pumped. about, not a hybrid, an RPG. I'm so pumped about the X-Men right now. I'm going to be GMing a X-Men RPG this Saturday on Hyper RPG's Twitch channel. You should definitely check it out if you're a fan of comic books. We're also doing a Magic School Bus RPG, a Star Wars Jedi Academy RPG, and a Harry Potter RPG. It's all back to school themed, but I'm going to be doing kind of like a Wolverine in the X-Men school, kind of Xavier Institute, well, Jean Grey School for Higher Learning kind of thing.
We also had a super chat from Justin Beckford. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Who says, Dwight Hickman writing Cyclops. Hashtag for the culture. Yeah, it's good. I really dug Cyclops in this issue. I feel like we've spent time with him, but I feel like this was the most of like, cool, I get to spend time with Scott and just seeing his perspective on all this stuff and seeing him move was great.
One more question, and then I think we got to cut it down.
Yeah.
Somebody says, do you think Miss Marvel will be an Inhuman or mutant in her TV series? That's an interesting question, because that is something that's like, ooh, what route do they take with that? Because Marvel, it looks like Marvel TV has really tried to be like, Inhumans, I don't know if we're going to go that route anymore.
I mean, now they can do mutants proper.
She's an Inhuman in the comic books.
Gotcha. Well, then, oh, that's tricky then, yeah.
It's a tricky one. It's a tricky one. That's something to mull over for sure. I wonder if they're going to try to tie it more into Captain Marvel so it makes sense for the cinematic universe.
Probably. I think they'll take some liberties. But yeah, it's hard to say. It's really hard to say because I think it's going to be a little bit before we see full integration of mutants into the Marvel Cinematic Universe. So if they wanted to change it to that, they could. But I don't know. I feel like Feige might also use this as an opportunity to like start leaning into Inhumans because that was a one and done. That's done.
Well, that's it, everybody. Thank you all so much. Stick around. Coming up next is our Rat Queens RPG over on Twitch. If you're currently watching on YouTube and you're like, man, I really want to keep hanging out with cool people and doing cool shit, and I love comic books, head over to twitch.tv/hyperrpg to watch Rat Queens, our officially A-okayed from the creator of Rat Queens RPG. It's a lot of fun. Thank you all so much for hanging out. We will see you next week on Comics and Coffee. Have a good one.
Bye.
Bye-bye. Nope, wrong thing.